What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, February 7th, 2018, middle of the week, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday and whatever insanity we're going to be dealing with this coming weekend here. So let's get into it. First of all, in our third hour today, Don Wiskin of Extendivite is going to be our on-air guest talking about his product and all the wonderful things that it will do. And in this age of very reckless corporate medical practice, going back to things with natural sources just seems like the common sense sort of thing to do. Okay, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, but because we have got so much to cover today, and we've got Don Wiskin coming in, don't call in just to hear your own voice on the radio, please. Call in if you've got something important to say, but you know, try and keep it very brief because we got a lot of stuff to go through here right now. Apparently, the House Intelligence Committee, the Senate Homeland Security Committee has released a whole bunch of documents, and included is an interim report on their investigation of the Clinton email scandal and how the FBI handled it. And so I haven't had a chance to read the PDF yet. I just this second got it as the music was playing. But apparently that is now under scrutiny by the Senate committee. And it's starting to roll. It's really starting to unwind here. And, of course, as you know, we've had a second memo released from the Congress about what was going on with the dossier. And so they're calling this one the Grassley memo. And apparently it's been mostly declassified at this point. And in a nutshell, Hillary wrote this dossier. She basically came up with the idea. She fed information to Christopher Steele through some of her associates, like Sid Blumenthal. He's up to his neck in this. And then paid the money to have it all written up and sort of data laundered. Like you'd launder money, you launder data so you can't trace it back to its original source. And then the FBI used this manufactured fabrication to get a warrant to spy on Trump. And everybody colluded illegally to spy on Trump. These people need to be going to prison. Now, over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is starting to get a little bit angry over the fact that there's all this obvious crime that was going on over at the Clinton Foundation, Hillary's campaign, Hillary at the State Department, and the government is just absolutely afraid to do anything about it. And Fitton is describing what happened here as the worst government abuse scandal in a generation, and he's absolutely right. And as I like to put it, this is the Democrats' version of Watergate. And it does represent an abuse of power, and it does delegitimize the government to see the FBI and the Department of Justice going to these extremes to illegally spy on a presidential candidate. At the same time, they are protecting somebody who's obviously been engaged in a lot of political corruption. Comey admitted in his little speech Hillary Clinton had violated several sections of Title 18. And then he says, we're not going to do anything about it. Now, Sean Hannity is out there saying that this second memo does expose the deep state corruption, and there are more memos to come. Supposedly, well, we know how much is out there. We've been studying it for years. We know how deep this well goes and how dark it's going to get. In fact, probably I would say that the people who listen to Republic Broadcasting and read whatreallyhappened.com may actually be better informed as to what's been going on inside the government than the government itself, because they're living this kind of little cloistered life, or they're surrounded by lackeys who only want them to hear happy things. Remember, we got reports that when the Nunes memo first surfaced, some of the people reading it claimed they were incredibly shocked, which that tells us they don't know what we know. All right. Now, Apparently, Grassley is now on the warpath against the FBI because apparently the FBI was attempting to suppress these new revelations about the Steele dossier. They're still out there trying to make this go away. It's not going to go away. The information is already out here in the independent media, and the issuance of these memos is sending a clear clarion call to all the American people that we in the independent media, we had it right. We had the real deal. Corporate media didn't, or if they did, they weren't saying it. This is the beginning of the rise of the independent media and the final collapse of the corporate media. And hopefully it's going to be the collapse of all the corruption inside our central government so we can avoid a world war with nuclear weapons. We can avoid all kinds of bad things if we can get our government back on track towards being a republic with a democratically elected leadership that is elected in transparent, fair, and honest elections. And I know I'm asking a lot, but I'm an old guy, and I remember when our country actually ran that way a long time before I was born. We're going to do a shout-out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. Now, Jim Jordan is now confirming that Sidney Blumenthal was feeding information to Christopher Steele for the dossier. They just said, we're going to give you this money to write the dossier. Oh, and by the way, here's some information for you. They manufactured this thing from top to bottom. Now, getting on back over to Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, more of their text messages are now being released, and they confirmed two bits of information. One is that they were, in fact, using burner phones when discussing anything related to Hillary Clinton. And apparently, the texts also indicate that President Barack Obama literally wanted daily updates about the FBI's investigation into Hillary's email server, even though he had said he was not going to get involved. But he wanted daily updates. He wanted to know everything. And apparently, the FBI was being very careful about writing their daily reports to Obama. They were worried if they said the wrong thing, bad things would happen. Among the newly disclosed texts, Peter Strzok also calls Virginians who voted against then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe's wife for a state Senate seat. He called them ignorant hillbillies. Now, that's quite revealing about how people in government feel toward the rest of us. If we don't do as we're told, if we don't do what they want, well, we're just ignorant hillbillies. I should have gotten out my 5-string banjo for that segment here, but I haven't practiced in a long time. So with these texts coming on out about Obama wanting to be briefed every single day, it brings up the old question. And again, we had one of these in Watergate. What did the president know, and when did he know it? Because Nixon tried the same defense. I had no idea. The plumbers were doing those things. I didn't know anything about the break-in. Let me be perfectly clear. I accept the responsibility, but none of the blame. Tom Fitton is out there saying that the FBI and the Department of Justice have zero credibility on the Trump-Clinton investigations. Actually, at this point, they have zero credibility. We can end the sentence right there. And, of course, the defenders of the orthodoxy, the defenders of the deep state, the defenders of the system are out there saying, well, releasing all this information about what the Department of Justice and the FBI have really been doing, that's harming their image. It's destroying their credibility. No, it's the actions of the FBI and DOJ that destroyed their credibility. This idea that government can behave as just a band of blackguards and rely on good public relations to keep the people in their place, those days are gone. In the age of the internet and the independent media, government cannot maintain these cover-ups. They still try. They haven't learned that politics is perception. And people don't go to the voting booths picking their candidates on what the corporate media tells them anymore. Not like they used to. We proved that in the 2016 election. The corporate media Hillary was their darling. And they hated Trump. And they just pounded on Trump and they supported Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton still lost. And a big part of that is due to the fact that voters were reading about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on the blogs, the websites, and listening to independent media to tell them what was really going on behind the scene. That's why the corporate media hates us so much right now. Pat Buchanan is out there saying that if Americans are losing faith in the FBI, whose fault is that? It's the FBI. The FBI did all these things. The Department of Justice did all these things. Former FBI Director James Comey got up there on TV and admitted Hillary Clinton was guilty of Title 18 felony violations and then gave her a get-out-of-jail-free card right there on air. Now, Democratic Representative Swalwell apparently admitted right on the air in a broadcast interview that the Robert Mueller investigation is the insurance policy they were talking about, the manufactured means to get rid of President Trump and put a deep state puppet darling back in that Oval Office. And at this point, I have to say I disagree with Trey Gowdy. Without that dossier, Mueller's investigation is finished, and it should be shut down. Tucker Carlson was out there talking to Adam Schiff, saying that the leaders of the witch hunt are the witches. He's right about that. Now, let's get back to Carter Page, because it's beginning to look more and more like Carter Page was a patsy, and he was set up by the FBI. Now, it came out the other day that he was an FBI undercover informant, and he helped to bring down a Russian spy ring. And then later on, the FBI used the fact that he was hanging out with this spy ring to tell the FISA court that Carter Page was a Russian spy, even though they knew that he was with that Russian spy group as an informant to bring them down. The FISA court didn't know that. They lied. The FBI lied. And they set Carter Page up, and they got the warrant, and they spied on him and everybody that was communicating with. It's just insane. Insane. Article that came out of All News Pipeline saying that at this point it's pretty obvious something huge is coming. And the narcocracy, the deep state, whatever you want to call them, they're scared. The party is coming to an end. The plot to overthrow the elected president of the United States of America is now being exposed bit by bit. And Americans are getting a real look at how the government actually operates. And it is not the way that we are taught in school or shown on television and movies. Story coming on out of Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona is saying that all of these people, James Comey, they've committed these high crimes. Forget about jail. Some of these people could actually be looking at the death penalty. I don't think that's necessary. I think public humiliation should be sufficient. On the other hand, if there's a public outcry for mass televised hangings, who am I to disagree? The Devin Nunes FISA memo has been bolstered by Adam Schiff's admission the FISA court knew that the DNC had paid for that dossier. So that raises the question of how the FISA court was convinced to go along with this warrant, knowing that the provenance of the dossier showed a clear conflict of interest. Was the judge being arm-twisted, blackmailed? Was there leverage being applied? And I ask that because I would have thought that by now the FISA court would have come on out and said that warrant is now invalid. It's been rescinded because it was obtained under false pretenses. But we've heard nothing about it yet. Now, back when Bill Clinton had that meeting with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac at that airport, and I said they're not talking about their grandchildren. Bill Clinton worked too hard to get close to Loretta Lynch in private circumstances. Remember, very hot day. They had the crew of the plane everybody got off the plane except Clinton and Loretta Lynch. So they had a little bit of privacy. And I speculated at that time, that's where the deal was made. Loretta Lynch was promised something. If Hillary became president, she was going to get something if she went along with all of this. And I suggested that Loretta Lynch might be offered a seat on the United States Supreme Court. Well, it turns out I wasn't far off, because QAnon is basically out there saying that, yes, Bill Clinton's offer to Loretta Lynch to basically make sure that Hillary Clinton wasn't prosecuted was that when Hillary Clinton became president, that Loretta Lynch would get Scalia's seat. Remember Justice Scalia was this conservative judge who died under very questionable circumstances? So basically, you've got to look at the timeline. February 2nd, there's a John Podesta email regarding wet work, which is slang for murder. February 13th, Scalia dies under questionable circumstance. February 13th, almost before the body is cool, Podesta email regarding Scalia replacement. June 27th, Bill Clinton meets with Loretta Lynch. July 1st, Loretta Lynch announces she will accept James Comey's saying that, well, Hillary didn't mean to do wrong, therefore we will not prosecute. And, of course, a few days later, Comey dismisses the Clinton email investigation. So the timing is really looking very damaging, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe Scalia should be on the Clinton dead body list, because the timing is just too cute. And we know that people that are in the way of the Clintons, they die on a regular basis. Now, here is where things are going to heat up. Over at the Department of Justice, their Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, is going to reopen the investigation into how the FBI handled the email server case. At some point, they're going to have to go back and look at the email server itself. And at that point, I want an answer to my question. Was Hillary Clinton replaying the 1996 Chinagate scandal? Was she, while Secretary of State, selling U.S. secrets to foreign interests, using her weak email server to deliver the material and her so-called charitable foundation to collect and launder the money? Because remember, about 40% of the money in that foundation came from foreign sources, and a lot of it was for pay-for-play. There was a lot of pay-for-play going on. But there looks like there may have been an espionage operation as well. And it may have involved the Awan brothers, who were hired to do IT inside the Congress and were later found out to have broken into the computers of various congressmen. And where did all that intelligence information go, and who got paid for it? There's a big, smelly story behind all of this stuff. And there's nothing but cover-ups going on. Remember when this whole email thing blew up? Judicial Watch was trying to get the information, and the State Department came on out and said it will take 75 years to get these Clinton and Huma Abedin emails ready to make public. 75 years. Everybody's going to be dead by then. That's what it was. It was a blatant, we're going to put it off until all the involved players are dead and nobody cares anymore. It's like what they did with the John F. Kennedy files. They let a few things out, confirmed that there was, in fact, a conspiracy, but everybody who took part in it, they're already dead and gone. They got away with it. They had the lives that they bought with the blood of John F. Kennedy, and nothing happened to them. And Hillary Clinton is enjoying the wealth that her corruption produced, and nothing's going to happen to her. It is a scandal. All right, we're coming up here now on a commercial break. When we come on back, more politics, more news coming out of the Los Angeles Times, economic news, war, all kinds of stuff happening today. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
For the past 14 years, it's been my privilege to host the National Intel Report on RBN, to offer a platform to interview exceptional guests, to provoke critical thought, and examine evidence, whether real, fake, or somewhere in between, and allow our audience to call in and participate with your input and questions in order to help us all reach an educated decision and arrive at our own truth. Our world has changed. It's now been turned on its head. Real is now considered fake, and mainstream fake is now pushed as real, rather than any clear thinking, consensus, or rationale.
Those few remaining beacons of light, the ones still shining through the mainstream media lies, propaganda, and deception, are being viciously attacked at every level through attempts at censorship, threatening advertisers, jailing hosts, and even killing journalists brave enough to speak the truth to you. We are in a war for our very freedom and existence, and through these despicable acts, freedom haters, collectivists, and communitarians have shown they will stop at nothing to blot out these last few beacons of light. Truth is becoming increasingly more difficult to unmask, just as the term unmasking itself is spoken by those usually anonymous sources. They promote their lies, wishing to mask the truths by ignoring it, vilifying it, or conspiratorializing it into a black hole abyss.
Regrettably, RBN has reached the tipping point, and through internal audit and actuarial review, it has now been determined that the only life raft of survival to this network is to go the way of PBS, that being audience-supported. Like a cornered animal, the left with veracity is pulling out all the stops with every effort to effectively blacken our beacon forever. Help us, folks. Help yourselves. Don't let our light stop shining. Our motto has always been, because you can handle the truth. It's time to review your budget, folks. If you want the truth to keep flowing through RBN, go to republicbroadcasting.org and become a regular monthly donor of $30, $40, $50, or $100 or more a month and ensure you keep the truth flowing.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And again, if you would like to keep Republic Broadcasting Network on the air, and folks, we really need your help right now. We're heading into a major, major fight against corporate media and the deep state trying to get this corruption out. I've been at this for almost a quarter of a century, and it feels to me like we're finally achieving a breakthrough. So we do need your help. We wouldn't ask if we didn't need it, because we understand all of you are dealing with serious financial stresses the same that we are. So for those of you who want to help on out, you can send a check or money order to Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. If you'd like to phone on in and pledge to become a recurring subscriber, the number is 800-724 2719 extension 03. Okay, now we're getting on back to politics and corruption here. There is something that is known as a national security letter, and if you haven't heard about it, it's easy to understand. I first heard about it back when the Clintons were in office, where somebody had issued one of these to a newspaper. And these are completely unconstitutional, but it is simply an order from the FBI or other people in the government says, you will do this. Don't ask any questions, and you're not allowed to tell anybody, or we'll just make you disappear. That's a national security letter. But apparently more and more people, individuals, institutions that are getting hit with these national security letters, which are gag orders, they're starting to go public. And they're starting to go to court and say, this is not legal. And of course, the courts are having to say, yeah, you're absolutely right. There is no legal grounds whatsoever. The FBI does not have the authority to just go on out and order people to shut up unless they can get a judge to issue a gag order, which clearly they have not been. There's no judicial oversight. And it's another example of how abusive the FBI has become. I mean, that to me is a sign of a dictatorship right there. Oh, I've seen a crime. I want to report the crime. No, you can't. You don't say anything. I mean, that's how I got into trouble. That's how I got on this path here. I could see that there was something wrong with the official story. And, see something, say something. I'm sure you've all heard that phrase. So like a good little citizen, I tried to raise my hand and say, wait a minute, this isn't a suicide. Okay, now, as you know, corporate media is in trouble, and they did it to themselves, and I have absolutely no sympathy for them. But apparently, the current owner of the Los Angeles Times is working on a deal to sell the newspaper to a billionaire Los Angeles-based physician. He's a medical entrepreneur, and apparently it has to do with the fact that there's been a high turnover of staff, both regular and management, and apparently the current staff, they don't like the way the newspaper is being run. Maybe the staff is finally standing up and saying, we're tired of shoveling bovine excrement out of those newspaper vending machines because it's costing us readers and ad revenues, and we're all afraid for our jobs. But apparently, the new potential owner, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, is looking at paying $500 million for that newspaper and also for the San Diego Union Tribune. So hopefully, his being a doctor, he'll be less inclined to want to skew the political news. Of course, I'm sure the newspapers will be full of all kinds of articles about the wonders of vaccines and how you should stay away from homeopathy. But we can keep an eye out for that stuff. We mentioned, I think it was only yesterday, Newsweek is in trouble. The top staffers have been fired. Apparently they're under investigation, or rather their parent company is under investigation by the district attorney of Manhattan for some financial stuff. And again, they did it to themselves. Back in 1995, can you believe this? Back in 1995, Newsweek ran an article on why the internet was going to fail. And say, there's nothing out there, it's not going to be popular. And what was really interesting was it was written by a guy named Clifford Stoll, who by training was an astronomer, but he'd lost his grant, and so he was managing computer servers, and he stumbled across one of the world's first major hackers, and he wrote a book about it called The Cuckoo's Nest, which details his hunt for this Marcus Hess, who was hacking U.S. computers in Germany and selling the information to the KGB. So Clifford does know about the net, but apparently he just lacked the imagination to see where media content was going to go, the World Wide Web. But Newsweek ran this in 1995, and maybe their agenda was, even back then, they didn't want the competition. And in fact, Clifford Stoll in his article here says, you don't get any news on the internet. Really, you stick with the newspapers and TV. So maybe they just paid him a lot of money to try and keep Americans in their current media habits, and it didn't work. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy Cleaner's $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the Energy Cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the Energy Cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. Let's turn over to the war zones. There certainly are so many of them right now. And apparently, on the ground in Syria, there's a general, Lieutenant General Paul E. Funk. And basically he's saying that the U.S. is going to back the Kurdish fighters, which means the U.S. and Turkey are now basically on opposite sides of this issue. And, of course, Erdogan has been saying all along, Americans who are sitting in the middle of those Kurds are legitimate targets now. So I guess they're so desperate for a war, they're willing to go to war against Turkey from inside Syria, which doesn't want the U.S. forces there. Getting really, really messed up. And apparently there is a growing strain between Turkey and Russia over the fact that all of a sudden they seem to be shooting at each other or helping the people who are shooting at each other. And a lot of this has to do with the loss of that Sukhoi 25. And apparently the pilot was one of Russia's top aces, and certainly was a very tough individual, committed suicide rather than be taken prisoner. But now they're beginning to find out where this all came from. Russia is now saying that the Manpad missile came across the border from Turkey, and they're angry because Turkey is supposed to be securing their border against that sort of things, cutting Turkey a little bit of slack, we're talking about a man pad, something that's very, very small and easy to conceal. But apparently, all the way back in February of 2014, the Wall Street Journal ran a story that the Saudis were going to provide Syrian rebels with man pads, and apparently the United States was paying for it all. So that's where the man pad came from that shot down that Russian plane. Now, Erdogan is still pledging that once the Kurds are gone from Manbij, that he will turn it back over to its original Arab owners who were displaced by the Kurds. And with the Kurds gone, Turkey is saying, let them come home. This is their place again. And apparently the idea is that Turkey wants to push the Kurds, and even the U.S. is saying that, or at least the Obama administration was saying they were going to move the Kurds to the east of the Euphrates River after ISIS was pushed out. There's a problem there, and that is Iran is not agreeable to having the creation of a Kurdish state on the eastern side of the Euphrates. So the more the U.S. meddles, the more the U.S. tinkers, the worse the situation seems to get. Now, as you know, the U.S. government has once again gone back to that tired old canard that Assad is gassing his own people. And it's not a matter of people believing this claim because it's been discredited so many times before. But apparently they're reviving this and saying, oh, there's a chemical arms issue, to basically draw attention away from the fact that Syria and Russia have been very successful in ridding Syria of ISIS and al-Qaeda, something the U.S. claimed to be doing but did not. So now they're looking for a distraction over there. And I still presume that the U.S. government is trying to figure out some way they can sell a new incursion into Syria to you, the very war-weary American people. Now, here is something that could very easily turn into a major, major problem. Syria has reported that, once again, Israeli warplanes have attacked Syria's military near Damascus. And, as usual, the Israeli warplanes are flying over Lebanon because they know that Syria doesn't dare fire on Israeli warplanes over Lebanon because of the damage that will happen to Lebanon from either missed shots or crashing Israeli warplanes. So they just hide over there and they lob missiles. The reason this is a problem is because following the last such attack, Assad told Israel, if you attack us again, we will attack the Ben Gurion International Airport with Scud missiles. Now, so far, there's no report that Assad has done so, but it's very dangerous of Israel to try and call Assad's bluff, given that the Iron Dome isn't as effective at stopping incoming missiles as the sales brochure would have you believe. Now, turning back over to Iran, as you know, the U.S. is ratcheting up pressure. They're trying to get some way to basically force Iran to walk away from the P5+1 deal, which Iran has indicated that, yes, they will if the U.S. executes any unilateral changes, such as trying to add non-nuclear missiles to the deal, which was never part of the original deal. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is out there pointing out that if the Iran nuclear deal fails, the entire global non-proliferation system will be at risk. Well, Mr. Lavrov, I'm sorry, the global non-proliferation system has already failed because of Israel and their unaccounted for nuclear weapons and the fact that they were caught trying to sell one to South Africa. And I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to bet that Israel was only selling to South Africa. I'm sure there's a lot of other countries who wanted nuclear weapons who would be glad to pay Israel's price for a clandestine, untraceable nuclear weapon that was not being tracked by the IAEA. The reality is we don't really know who's got nuclear weapons and who does not. North Korea might have even bought some of their first nuclear weapons from Israel. Publicly, they were enemies, but hey, when you've got a deal to get a nuke, you'll be friends for a few minutes there. Apparently, Assistant Secretary of Defense Randall Schreiber, speaking to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, is estimating the cost of the Afghan war for this year to be $45 billion with a B. That's $45 billion plus all those kids are going to be killed and crippled just to make sure that the oil companies get their pipeline and the American drug lords get their opium. $45 billion. And you know what's really angry? The oil and the opium isn't worth that much money. My first thought when I heard this is, okay, well, if we've got to have Afghanistan for the oil and opium, let the oil companies and the opium drug lords pay for it all. And then I looked at some of the numbers and said, heck no, they can't, they couldn't afford to do it. That's why they bribe members of the government so that we all get to pay for their business locale. Location. It's all location. Things are changing dramatically down in Yemen. Apparently, they've been fighting in the interim capital of Aden, which was also the seat of the government for the formerly independent country of South Yemen. And apparently over the weekend, President Hadi tried to ban the Southern Transitional Council and its supporters from protesting him. But they protested anyway. Hadi ordered his soldiers to shoot at activists, and apparently the situation is where the party's armed wing, the Southern Resistance Forces, have taken over Aden in a move that Hadi's government decried as a coup. Now, we don't know where Hadi is right now, or if he's even still alive, but it could be the end of the war. Because remember, Hadi was the installed puppet ruler. And this may be the second time that Yemen has kicked out a U.S. puppet. I'm sure the attitude in Washington, D.C. is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Third time will be a charm. Apparently, South Yemen is in some form of control in the country because they've issued a formal protest over U.S. drone strikes that killed civilians. And the problem is the U.S. is not actually picking its targets. They're engaging in what they're calling signature strikes. They used to call them profile targeting. It's basically the same thing. If they see too many people in a car, they must be militants. It satisfies the signature of a legitimate target, and they blow it up. They don't really know. So there was this one attack on January 28th, and apparently the people in the car were family members of a child who was missing in the side district. They were driving on out there to mount a search party for this kid, and they were not members of any political or religious organizations, and the U.S. hit the car with a drone strike and killed all those adults, and probably that kid is either dead or dying in the desert. But the strike is consistent with U.S. policy, don't you know? Yes, those people piloting the drone, they did what they're supposed to do. Anyway, Rex Tillerson is already out there screaming that Russia is going to interfere in the elections this November. Good reason to get rid of the electronic machines and go back to paper ballots and voter ID. Going to make it very hard for Russia or anyone else to significantly alter the outcome of the election. Just more Russia bashing coming on out. Now, we mentioned this briefly yesterday. We're going to mention it again. Basically, less than a week after a U.S. missile defense system failed to intercept a test ballistic missile outside the atmosphere, the Chinese Ministry of National Defense succeeded in their equivalent test. Another good reason to maybe back off from all this talk about nuclear warfare. Over on the Korean Peninsula, everybody's getting ready for the start of the Winter Olympics. Apparently, more than 200 North Korean cheerleaders have now crossed over the DMZ. It's 229 cheerleaders, and apparently they're part of a 280-strong delegation. And it's basically one of the largest border crossings between the two Koreas in quite a long time. The cheerleaders were all wearing identical outfits, hats, luggage. They looked actually very impressive, and they're staying at a 4-star luxury hotel in Inje, which is about 2 hours' drive from the Olympic venue. And apparently Tuesday, Tuesday, the 140-strong North Korean orchestra arrived at the port of Mukho on the west coast of South Korea. So it's nice that they're making these moves. They're really trying to bring the Koreas back together. And what's getting in the way? The usual belligerent U.S. Mike Pence is already out there threatening North Korea with the toughest and most aggressive U.S. sanctions ahead of the Olympics. Basically saying, we're going to pound on you until you abandon your nuclear and ballistic missile programs once and for all. Okay, well, Mr. Pence, if you want to ban nuclear weapons, let's start with the country that has actually used them against the civilians of another country. North Korea has not attacked us. None of these countries that the U.S. is waging war on initiated that war. It's all started from the U.S., usually with a bunch of lies. Assad's gas, Saddam's nuclear weapons, and so forth and so on. North Korea has made it abundantly clear. They want nuclear weapons and long-range missiles to deliver them in order to live in peace, free of the risk of an invasion by the United States of America. And frankly, that seems to make a lot of sense to me. That's the whole reason to have nuclear weapons and long-range missiles, to send a message to other countries. Leave us alone. We can be friends. We can do business. We can go to the Olympics and everything. Don't think about invading us and taking our wealth by force, because we will make it very expensive. That's a legitimate right every nation state has to deterrence. And every single country that the United States has arm twisted into surrendering their weapons of deterrence, usually coupled with a promise that we'll leave you alone if you give up your weapons of deterrence, then they get invaded. They did it to Libya. They did it to Iraq. They did it to Syria. Now they're probably getting ready to do it to Iran, and they're going to do it to North Korea. According to a story coming on out of Sputnik News, the U.S. has no plans to meet with any North Korean officials at the Olympics. The U.S. is going out of its way to show its hostility and its dedication to war. The Chinese are right. Our government, not just Trump, our entire government is back in that obsolete Cold War mentality. Article out of Global Research up in Canada talking about the psychological effect of all these nuclear attack warning drills, the duck and cover, and obviously they're talking about what happened here in Hawaii, where in addition to our monthly test of the tsunami warning system, we now have a monthly test of a nuclear attack warning system. And you know what happened? Somebody pushed a button. Could be the wrong button, may have been deliberate. We don't really know, but basically the warning was sent on out. Nuclear missile attack coming on in. And the word that it was a drill and not real didn't get out for 47 minutes. So on the assumption that it wasn't an accident, yeah, it's psych war. It's to get everybody really thinking that North Korea could really attack us without warning. When common sense says, no, they're not just going to throw away their nuclear deterrent for no reason. No country that has a nuclear deterrent has just hauled off and attacked another country with those weapons. Except, of course, for the United States of America. over in Israel, Israel's military and police seem to have escalated this idea of extrajudicial execution. And apparently there was an incident where a Palestinian attacked a settler outside one of the illegal settlements and stabbed him. The police picked out a Palestinian they thought may have been the guy, and they just shot him right there. No trial, no judge, no jury. And, of course, that caused a bit of a ruckus, which resulted in another death of a Palestinian and about 50 people injured. We're going to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customer. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think the supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go ahead and take a phone call here. Kevin in West Virginia, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Mike. One of the things that's on my mind is the Olympics this year. I have a really bad feeling, like my spidey senses are going, danger, danger, danger. I hope, what are the chances that something's going to be pulled off here?
It's hard to say. I mean, we certainly cannot say with certainty that nothing untoward is going to happen. And we've already seen one time when South Korea, or at least the United States, tried to frame North Korea for a South Korean ship getting blown up. So it's kind of hard to say. The Olympics, unfortunately, have become politicized, and they have become a theater stage for anybody trying to make a point. We look back on the so-called Munich massacre, and we realize that it wasn't what we were all told it was, that it was, in fact, a psyop to basically demonize Palestine and help the Israel government, play victim for a little while longer.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just been on my mind the past couple of days that I just feel real uneasy and real unsettled. Like, man, something. And why not do it there and on a world stage and bring the spotlight to it, especially what's going on here with the FBI. Everybody knows they're corrupt as crap. The whole FISA thing, it would pull an attack would pull the spotlight off of that and put it on, there. And there's your war that the United States and the powers that shouldn't be that they want. I mean, especially ahead of this economic collapse. I still, like you and your wife were saying, anytime the markets go down, it seems to speed up the war agenda. I look on all these fronts. I look at, the Korean Peninsula, then I look at Syria, I look in the Middle East. Any one of these points are flashpoints. I mean, they're all powder kegs that we're sitting on. It's just going to take one spark.
Well, one possible scenario here is that a U.S. submarine or one of her allies is just off the coast of North Korea and fires a missile into South Korea during the Olympics. And they say, oh, those dastardly North Koreans, how could they, they're trying to win the Olympics by killing all the other teams or some other such nonsense. But again, you have to ask the question, where's the motivation? It's like when they're out there saying that Assad was gassing his own people. Okay, why? What does he get from it? It's an insane thing for him to do. And the same thing with Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un does not want a war. He doesn't want to be invaded. That's why he's building the nuclear deterrent. And so if something happens, the first thing that we all have to ask is who benefits? Who gets what they want? Certainly any kind of an attack that is blamed on North Korea does not get North Korea what they want, which is to be left alone. It gets the U.S. what the U.S. wants, another war to play with.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Kevin, we're going to have to let you go to do a station identification. So thank you very much for the phone call. We'll be back with hour 2 after these few words.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. because you can handle the truth.